Internally, I used to be a powder keg. Somebody would do something or say something, and the thing that they would do or say would set me off in a major kind of way, and I would be upset at that individual or that, whatever it was, that business or whatever, for a very long time after, that happened. That's true for me, and that's why today I kind of wanted to talk on the subject of hurt feelings on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday the 30th of November of 2021. And welcome to everyone who's here on the Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube, not the Rumble, the podcast and YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. And again, today's subject is going to be hurt feelings, and we're going to go very quickly through my notes, in order to discuss a little bit about that before we get into things. And I'm going to kind of hit this from an angle, I think, as I said yesterday, that I have not done before. My parents stayed together for more than 50 years. And they would have stayed together a bunch longer, but my dad died. A person would have to be, utterly out of his or her mind to assume every minute of that time was some sort of blissful fairyland. I distinctly recall my father saying things to my mother that showed a major disagreement between them. In fact, I remember asking my mother, "Why do you stay with him if he treats you as he does?" Looking back, I can more than understand. Couldn't do so at the time, but now I can. At the time, it was mysterious to me why they clung so desperately to one another. I'm told my mother had anguish over the fact my father never or nearly never said those simple words, "I love you." I'm sure my mother's feelings were hurt by that reality. Here's where things get interesting, though. It could and likely would be argued in the modern day that she had every right to walk away. Okay? If you had asked her, though, why she didn't, and she'd answered you, which she probably would not have done, it would very probably have looked like this. Whatever else is true, I loved him. And where it's true, he wasn't given to emotional sentiment. It's also the case that he showed her in a variety of ways that, say it or not, he did love her. In fact, I cannot imagine him not being devastated had she left. To be sure, he would have continued to move on with his life. That's the kind of guy my dad was. That doesn't mean he wouldn't have daily, maybe hourly, or even with greater frequency, missed and desired to have her in his life if she had gone. The point of my discussion of this topic is that at any point along the way, they could have allowed themselves to break apart and founder on the rocks because of hurt feelings. This, to me, is one of the major reasons modern relationships, and not just marital ones either, seem so temporary, so transitory today. It's easy to have your feelings hurt. It's simple to walk away when that happens. That doesn't mean it's even generally a good thing to do. Getting your feelings hurt is no fun. What you do about that may be to walk away. In this case, though, the better path is generally probably not to do that. What makes this more amazing? How about the idea that many folks can't recall that thing that supposedly hurt their feelings just days, months, or in some cases many years ago? Should we let such things drive our lives? I submit that's more often than not a bad plan. Look, I get, by the way, as you probably imagined, I'm done with my notes. I get when somebody is abused and they walk away from a relationship. I do. I get that sometimes that looks like having your feelings hurt over and over again in a lot of people's heads. But I look back at what happened between my mother and my father, and I realize that just because things looked certain ways doesn't mean that they were how they looked. Did my dad love my mom? I would certainly argue that he did. I would absolutely argue that he did. Did he do a good job of saying it most of the time? Not so much. But he loved her, and that's obvious. Did my mom love my dad? I would argue desperately. She loved him desperately. I would argue that there was no person in her life that she loved as much as that man. And I've seen this kind of thing over and over and over again. People will go out there, they'll get their feelings hurt, they'll walk away, and they'll pine for somebody, or maybe they'll even get to the point where they heal from having been in a relationship with that person, which to me in a way is more the pity than if they don't, right? More is the pity that that's true, because as far as I'm concerned, they may never find another human being that was what that individual was to them. And it's even worse in other circumstances where it's a sister or a brother or a cousin or a nephew or a niece or an uncle, or, again, am I telling you there's no situation in which it makes sense to make a clean break and get away from somebody as far as you can, as fast as you can? Nope, not saying that. There are situations where it makes sense to do that. But I'll tell you this, and this is the reality as I see it at this point in time. Most people who get their feelings hurt a year from the time that they got their feelings hurt cannot remember what caused the hurt. I know some people who felt like into their 50s or later that they couldn't stomach what family members, for example, were doing or had done in their lives. I get that. I understand it's true. That having been said, almost every one of those people either came to miss people who were gone, who had left the planet, or reconciled themselves and actually became a part of the family of those people that they were around, that they had hurt feelings as a result of dealing with at some point or in life. So I guess what I'm saying to you is this. I'm not saying there's no circumstance where having hurt feelings and walking away is okay, but I'm telling you that there are many circumstances where it's okay to have your feelings hurt. It might even be okay to space yourself apart from the person who hurt your feelings for a while, but I really, really don't suggest you count that a long-term thing to do. I just don't. It's just not. You may agree with me, you may disagree, but you need to entirely understand that it's really not something that you probably should count on as a reasonable thing to walk away from somebody, even for years. It's probably something that you maybe should walk away for weeks at the very most. And in extreme circumstances, maybe months. Certainly not years for most instances. So I guess this is what I'm trying to get across to you today. So your feelings got hurt? Well, I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I get that having your feelings hurt can be hard on a person. I get that, and I'm not trying to talk you down or beat you up as a result of how you've responded. What I'm trying to do is give you a little bit of the sageness of a person who's gaining that old age and let you know that you're getting your feelings hurt is not maybe as seriously as you might, or as serious a thing as you might think it is. It's just maybe not as serious as you think. Okay? And you'll look back on that in the future, and I know that this is hard to see if you're in the middle of having your feelings stomped on, right? But you'll very likely look back at that in the future and go, that really wasn't as serious as I thought it was. And particularly if you lose that person before you reconcile yourself to them, you're very likely going to say, I really wish that I'd reconciled myself to so-and-so. I'm just going to tell you that this is the reality. Okay, so this is my message to you. Hurt feelings, no fun. Not reconciling yourself to people in fairly short order after having your feelings hurt, probably worse than you really believe. Reconciling yourself can be bad, and I'm not going to say there aren't circumstances where you want to step away and stay that way. I need to go ahead and wrap up now. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Thursday, the 30th of November, 2021. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 1st, not of November as I have in my notes, but of December of 2021. So we're coming into that last month of the year. Thank you for everyone who's come here on Rumble on the podcast and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. Remember that you can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble if you want to do that. You can also give me a minus if you think that what I've presented was not worth your time or effort. Again, if you give me the boxing glove or the plus, that's an indication that it was. If you do the same sort of thing on YouTube, you can give me a thumbs up or a like if you enjoyed my content. And you can give me a thumbs down or dislike if you don't. The subject for today has been hurt feelings, and tomorrow we're going to talk about executive power. And I'm talking specifically with regard to government. We're not talking about corporate or anything like that. This is specifically with regard to government. So I hope everything's going well for you. It is Tuesday today, as I've said. That's just the beginning of that week. We're getting close to the middle already, amazingly. Tomorrow will be the middle of the week. Time flies. Hope you're doing well today. Hope things are going well for you. And hopefully we will, in fact, see you again on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Thursday, the 30th of November of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.